If you love homeopathy, if you believe in homeopathy for autism, you might not want to watch this video, because when you watched it, when you've listened to this, I don't think you'll be able to use it anymore. There's a very dark secret about homeopathy that I believe no one's ever told you before, and I'm going to reveal it in this video. You're going to be horrified and mortified when you understand what they put into these remedies, what contracts you sign when you use it, and what the long-term consequences will be. If you want to know all about why I don't recommend homeopathy for autism, and why the fact that it works initially is actually a bad sign, not a good sign, and why you need to stay away from it, stay till the end and watch the outro as well, where I talk to you about what you can do and what you must do, and share the links and the proof and all the dirty details. It's time to talk about homeopathy. There are some real issues with homeopathy, and in this video I'm going to break them all down to you so that you don't waste time on something that is potentially harming you and your child. In fact, it's probably one of the worst approaches, because moms end up trusting this so much, and they put years and months into this remedy because it's used by so many, because it's admired by millions of people worldwide, and it's a so-called natural approach. We're going to debunk this so that you don't waste precious time, so that you don't expose your children to an influence that is very dangerous and very dark and very unhealthy, both chemically, biochemically, spiritually, emotionally, and also unhealthy because it leads to self-sabotage, and it leads to you wasting maybe 1 or 2 years that could have been used on approaches that actually do have a proven effect on the symptoms that your child is struggling with. Ooh, it's going to be a triggering episode. Let's get to it. Well, it works. Or it worked for this mom or that mom, or it's making my child better at the moment, so I don't want to stop using homeopathy. Have you ever heard someone say that? I certainly have, a lot of times. Does that mean that it's a good remedy, that it's working right now? No, absolutely not. I cannot even count the amount of supplements and diets and protocols and remedies that people have used that works for a while, might even be a year or 2 years. And then we see the knock-on effect, the long-term damage, sometimes irreversible damage. So just because something works now doesn't mean that it will work long-term, or even that it's a good idea long-term. When I tell you about the occult, dark, actually disgusting secret behind homeopathic remedies, I don't think you'll be using it anymore. In fact, if you do, that's kind of strange. Here's one of the reasons why we shouldn't be using this, even though it works initially. And there will be a price to be paid for engaging in such dark, disgusting medicines. Number one, it was founded by Hahnemann. And Mr. Hahnemann, he was a Freemason. I'm not going to get into Freemasonry in this video, but if you're against the system, if you're against the royal influence, if you're against the manipulation that's been going on throughout the past 2 years when it comes to our health, things we put into our body, things we have to put in front of our faces, politicians, corruption, manipulation, artificial intelligence, and the elite and all the things they do to us people, you know that Freemasonry is no good. Hahnemann was a Freemason, and Freemasonry is based on enlightenment, occult rituals, alchemical thoughts, theosophical ideas, and a very dark, twisted version of religion. Freemasons believe in a grand architect of the universe, a supreme being. It's very New Age. And the Freemasons actually founded the New Age movement, which is a very dark, deceptive, infiltrated movement that looks like light, looks like healing, looks like health, looks like enlightenment, looks like a higher consciousness. And that's why it's so appealing. But it comes disguised as light, but it's in reality, it is dark, it is destructive, because it takes us away from healing, takes us away from God, turns us away from God. And in the New Age and in these brotherhoods and with this type of medicine, the frequency medicine, we create contracts in the spiritual realm. And these dark contracts will grant us initial healing. If you're a spiritual being, you know about consciousness, you know about spiritual contracts, you know about darkness and light. And when we create these contracts, we get initial healing, we get a price, we get acknowledged for that, and then there's a long-term price to be paid in the spiritual realm. And that's where you will experience that your child gets well for a while, and then maybe 2 years down the line, you get sick, or you get a divorce, or you lose all your money, or you feel anxious, or you start having nightmares, or your child loses the healing that you've seen initially, or gets sick in other ways. There's always a price to pay when we're playing with the occult and with the darkness. You might say, that's silly, it's just plants and diluted potions. And let me talk about that, because now it's about to get really disgusting and really dark. We have only just begun. If you want to believe in homeopathy, you also have to subscribe to the idea of frequency. Frequency medicine is huge right now. It's all over the New Age, deceptive, dark narrative. The frequency narrative is all about the fact that you can affect disease, you can affect a body, you can affect other people and plants via frequencies. It's like radio waves you tune into, and they can either be high or low, they can be good or bad, healing or destructive. The frequency in homeopathic medicine, according to the founder of it and the science behind it, is also then based on and linked to the founder of this frequency. If you don't believe that, you don't believe in homeopathic medicine, because it's all about diluting the original form into something that is similar but thinner in structure. So if you subscribe to homeopathic medicine, you also subscribe to Freemasons and their occult rituals and their symbolism. You cannot say A and not say B. You cannot say, I believe in frequency, and I believe that this frequency, when I take it, it has an effect on my child's frequency. I'll get into how homeopathy works according to the founder, and he will say the same thing. So you have to accept that when you use homeopathic medicine, you are part of Freemasonry, occult rituals, and a very dark occult founder who based his whole religious belief and his alchemical thoughts on enlightenment, dark New Age occult enlightenment. And you are then part of that game, that whole game that has infiltrated the whole world and the darkness of this world. Brace yourself, because it's about to get really disgusting now. Some of the most important key ingredients in homeopathic medicine and remedies is almost like reading the list of ingredients in a satanic witchcraft drink used for voodoo, and I'll get into that. And it's just unbelievable. This is unbelievable. You know how we all were upset when we realized that Bill Gates and other people and the food industry wants us to eat insects and cockroaches and all kinds of things, and how dangerous that actually can be, because these insects are not fit for consumption. Well, guess what they add to or create homeopathic remedies from? Let me read from my list. We have Formica rufa, crushed live ants. We have Blatta, which is Blatta orientalis, which is cockroaches, crushed cockroach. Apis mellifica, crushed honeybee. Bombay moth. And how about lac carnimum, which is milk from dogs, or castor equi, the thumbnail of a horse, equinus, horsehair, rattus, which is Bombay rats, crushed and put into homeopathic remedies. Or how about head lice, bed bugs, fleas or Spanish flies? Snake venom, also a very important component in specific homeopathic remedies. Have you read what these Latin expressions, what they are, what it actually is that you're putting into your child? Can you see the link between Freemasonry, occultism, witchcraft, and these dark elements and these disgusting ingredients that are in some of these homeopathic remedies? It's not pretty. When you look at the side effects, it's actually quite horrifying. Abortion, risk of death, swelling, wheezing, edema, rash, eczema, urinary infections, inflammation. And these are not talked about, these side effects. If you look at how much harm these remedies can cause compared to how little evidence in all the studies that's been done since 1992 never really shown any good, lasting, repeatable scientific evidence that these remedies had any effect on the diseases and problems that they are saying that they're curing. So could it be that homeopathy is a dark contract that started many years ago by a dark agent, an occult Freemason, and what they really do is that they introduce these witchcraft remedies, and they have us sign contracts in the spiritual realm that will long-term damage our children and us. Who knows? Anyways, when you look at the side effects, that in itself, if you're not a spiritual person, if you're not someone who believes in God, which I do, and I do believe that this is evil, this is disgusting, this is something to be avoided at all costs. Even if you're not spiritual, you must see that this is highly problematic. Eating toxic insects, crushing honeybees, and eating cockroaches and dog milk and snake venom, or ingesting that, it has a huge troubling effect to it in my world anyway. So let's talk about insects and witchcraft. And to do that, I would like to step back in time and read to you a document about insects in witchcraft from my paper. This paper is from 1930. It is from the Journal of the New York Entomological Society, and it deals with insects and witchcraft, and it's written by Harry B. Weiss. And it's about what witches are supposed to do at Sabbath. So their evil master instructs them in all those activities which he demands from them, as in infesting the trees and fruits with locusts, caterpillars, slugs, butterflies, cankerworms, and such pestilent vermin, which devour everything, seeds, leaves, and fruit, or in bewitching cattle or casting a spell on the crops so that they are destroyed by leeches or wasted in some other way. And then it jumps down to say this little paper is not concerned with black magic as such, but rather with the relatively unimportant part which insects played in witchcraft, and more particularly with their use as familiars or demons in the shape of animals, by means of which spirits the witch was served in carrying out her nefarious plans. Kittredge has stated that the essential element in this black witchcraft is called maleficicum, the working of harm to the bodies and goods of one's neighbors by means of evil spirits or of strange powers derived from intercourse with such spirits. So in other words, insects are used in witchcraft to damage and destroy bodies and people and places. So when insects is used in homeopathic remedies, what do you think that they are designed to do? Not probably consciously by the ones that are dealing with it, the ones that are treating people with it today, but in its roots, that's what it is. It is witchcraft, it is occult, and it's dark, and you got to question the intention behind it, the frequency behind it, and the price, long-term price for the initial black magic effect. This paper talks about something that is very similar to voodoo. So if we look at homeopathy from that perspective, dark black voodoo disguised as light, as everything is in the New Age, you might say that it's designed, its origin, its frequency is designed to destroy but look like healing, so that you initially feel better, and then the contract is signed and you will feel the effect and the damage long term. It's a really dark scene. And when you look at this, and when you look into it, and the frequency of it and the ingredients in it, personally, I feel nauseous. I feel repulsed. It's disgusting. I don't know what you feel right now, but I'd be curious to hear about it in the comments below. So let's jump to the effect or lack of homeopathy as it's been proven again and again in scientific studies. Really isn't that impressive. So according to the founder of homeopathy, we're talking about delusions. So we are diluting these insects or these plants or these venoms, whatever it is, these occult remedies and plants, diluting it from in the first stage from 1 to 99. And then in the second stage called C2, it's diluted 30 times as far as I've understood. And he didn't believe in atoms. So what he said is that every time you dilute these remedies, you have to shake it vigorously, and that's done to release healing energy. And now we're talking about this frequency, this big conscious architect, this healing force, which is purely strictly occult New Age thinking, but that's how it's supposed to work. Healing energy is released when you shake this dilution, and you're diluting it down and down and down. So he believed that matter could be divided because he didn't believe in molecules. He didn't believe in atoms. And it's been logically said so many times that any dilution that is thinner than level 12 doesn't actually contain a molecule from its original source. So it's complete rubbish. And some of the arguments that we hear for and have been hearing from the millions that use homeopathy and the homeopaths as well is that we have millions of satisfied patients that's been using this for over 200 years. And that's how witchcraft works. That's how New Age healing works. That's how Reiki works. That's how twin flame relationship works. That's how angel cards work. That's how shamans work. That is how clairvoyance works. You get tempted with something that feels good in the beginning, with some healing or a soulmate or a twin flame or some money that you manifest or a message. And then you don't see the darkness and the destruction and the dirtiness of the spiritual consequences and the physical consequences of dabbling into that whole field long term. But scientifically, what they did when they created this, Hahnemann and his students, is that they tested it on themselves. They called it provings. And they knew what they were taking. So they were interested in seeing an effect. And we know from placebo studies that is really highly unreliable. And in a recent study, the belladonna remedy actually showed that it made symptoms worse. And there's been several other studies. Any significant evidence that this works. And this study also looked at 40 other clinical studies and examined them, and there was no acceptable evidence that homeopathic remedies actually work. In 1992, a wart treatment showed a study on homeopathic versus normal treatment for warts showed no more effect from the homeopathic remedy than placebo. And in 1994, respiratory infections were treated with placebo and homeopathy, and there was no improvement in the group that was using homeopathy. There's one study from 1994 where asthma and allergy was tested, treatment was tested. 13 persons in this study felt better. They just felt better. It was only their own personal experience. They felt better than the 15 in the placebo that didn't feel better, right? So that's like not really a significant study. And then again, in Norway, there was a study where they were studying pain after tooth extractions and oral surgery. 14 were students of homeopathy. 14 of the people who were in this study were students of homeopathy. 2 of the 5 authors of this study were homeopaths. So they were highly motivated to see results. And they found no evidence whatsoever of relief of pain or tissue health. So in another study where it was about cold, whether it got better or not, it was shown that cold gets better on its own. So it's been examined over and over again over the years, and it's not been proven to work at all or have any significant effect. So we must assume that there are 2 reasons why homeopathy works. One is placebo. We want it to work. We believe it works. We have trust in this natural remedy, which isn't natural at all. Or, which is something that people don't talk about, it's an occult contract. It's a witchcraft that works just like other infiltrated dark matrix healing modalities that are used for autism all over the world right now, where I believe that there's an undercurrent of a dark matrix that has no intention of letting you heal your child. And the agenda in the dark matrix, the new age matrix, sometimes the functional medicine matrix, is to keep you preoccupied, keep you distracted, chasing all these strange remedies and protocols and practitioners and diets so that you waste enough time to be too late to save your child from symptoms when your child turns 11 or 12 or 13. You've spent all your money and all your time on homeopathy, on protocols named after doctors, on detoxes that actually damage the brain and actually damage children horrifically, on supplements that make matters worse, on functional medicine that doesn't deal with the root cause. And all of these things are not of God. They are not of nature, actually. They are distractions, they are distortions, and they have not, over the 15 years that I've been in this field, ever shown to create long-term results. So again, what works initially doesn't mean that it will work long-term or that it's even good for you. There's a practical realm and a practical aspect of this you got to be really careful with, because you will be wasting time and money if you do this. There's a spiritual aspect that's really dangerous and dark that you got to protect your child from. Don't sign any contracts with the occult. There's a self-sabotage aspect to it as well. I see a lot of moms putting all their faith into homeopathy, and also they stay away from going through a real turnaround process because they think they can't do it because they want to hold on to their homeopathy. So procrastination is often linked to the use of these cures, these remedies, these homeopathic remedies, or whatever it is. Whenever we are looking for the cure, the potion, the pill, the diet that is made by some man, that will never lead to full spectrum holistic recovery in connection with nature and ordained by God. So this is a spiritual quest, it's an emotional quest, it's a biological quest. We are not designed to eat crushed bees or rats or dog milk or honeybees or rattlesnakes or cockroaches. So there's a biological aspect to it as well. And there's an existential aspect to it. What is this here to show you? Autism is here to wake you up. Autism is here to force you to change your ways. Autism is here to show you all the darkness in this world that you need to step away from. Autism is a job that God gave you so that you are willing to change your life, change your food, change your diet, get back into nature, get away from the screens, get away from mainstream, get away from New Age, and get away from the spiritual healing deception, and actually find real, true healing in God. So, in the name of Jesus. That's what I wanted to say about homeopathy, and that was a lot. I hope it makes sense. Let me end by talking to you a little bit more about what's in this homeopathic remedy as well that I didn't mention. Poison ivy, cadmium, poison hemlock, arsenic, testicles, and deadly nightshades. Be my guest or join me next time. Subscribe to the podcast. Listen to the outro to figure out how to get in contact with me if you want to know how I turned my autistic child's symptoms around, and if you want to step away from all this and you're still confused, I'm here to talk to you. See you soon. Well, I hope you enjoyed or were shocked by this episode. If you want all the links for the articles and look at all the disgusting ingredients in these homeopathic remedies, if you want to see the article about witchcraft and insects, if you want to understand more about the homeopathic Freemason background, go to barefootautismwarriors.com/blog and click on this episode and look at all the links on my website. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to my podcast as well on barefootautismwarriors.com/podcasts. I really hope to see you again soon. Stay sane and take care.